There's something that I need you to please vote on in the DV Connect area of our website as soon as you see this video. The urgency is because we've been given a strict deadline from the Electoral Commission as to whether to proceed with an amendment to our official party name. You see, back in 2017, when I was writing our party constitution and manifesto, the party name that I originally tried to obtain for this party was the Direct Democracy Party. However, the Electoral Commission advised me at the time that this name would not be possible as there was another party with a very similar name. So, having understood that the words direct democracy probably couldn't feature in our party's name, together with the other founders, we decided to call the party the Democrats and Veterans. This was to reflect the union between the central vision of achieving genuine democracy for Britain on the one hand, and the veteran legacy of love of country, respect for law and order, a culture of service, and a willingness to do whatever is necessary to defend our democracy. However, on the basis of consistent feedback over the last year, it became apparent that in order to make it clear that our defining purpose as a party is to replace the failed system of so-called representative democracy in Britain with a superior, authentic form of true democracy, it was essential in the minds of the party's executive board that the words direct democracy should definitely feature within our party name and very prominently on all our literature. Those who have been following our progress will have noted that a few weeks ago, amongst our handful of victories at local election, we ran a very successful campaign under the direct oversight of our party chairman in Barnsley. We campaigned exclusively on a direct democracy platform and gained more than 50% of the vote. And we did this in a ward that nobody would have denied was a Labour heartland, somewhere where we were told it was impossible to win. But we did win. And in so doing, we displaced a councillor that had held her seat for more than 20 years. So it's very clear to us that there is now massive appetite for direct democracy in Britain. And it's only a matter of time and some hard campaigning work, and I believe the entire nation will come round to our way of thinking, whatever party colours they may at present wear. You see the patently arrogant behaviour of our political class in denying the people what they voted for in 2016 for 3 years has proven to the British people beyond any doubt that the current system of parliamentary democracy that we suffer in Britain is simply no longer fit for purpose and needs to be replaced. Westminster has made a huge miscalculation with Brexit. They've been used to us minding our own business while they make reams and reams of largely inconsequential laws that people have very little interest in. They've been used to our letting them get on with a job while never really bothering to look over their shoulder and see what kind of devious mischief they're actually getting up to. But when Britain got its first taste of direct democracy in a generation, in the largest democratic exercise in our nation's history, when we made the effort to come to terms with the issue of our national sovereignty and rights to self-determination in 2016, we started paying attention. And what we found since that time has convinced most serious-minded people that we can no longer turn a blind eye and trust Westminster to continue to act without authority, without supervision. 3 years of otherwise productive time during which we could have forged competitive trade deals worldwide that could now see us poised within a generation to move into third place amongst the world's top economies. A system that's allowed to disregard the clearly expressed will of the British people and even cynically press for another referendum to invalidate an already perfectly clear referendum result, and no doubt spend even more millions of our own taxes on ever more expensive and pervasive propaganda to try and get us to change our minds. Allows the agenda of just 326 people to stand in the way of the chosen destiny of 17.4 million British citizens. Is a system that deserves to be destroyed very soon and replaced with something much fairer, much more honest, and with far more legitimacy. And so, yes, I believe that direct democracy is without any doubt going to be Britain's future system of government. And we, the founders of this party, have believed this from our inception, or we'd never have started this fight for direct democracy. But the first question we needed to answer was how were we to go about challenging the present broken system? Well, many viewers will know that there are a couple of other countries in Europe that are run by direct democracy. These are very strong economies for their population sizes. One of these countries has created 3% more jobs in the country than there are people to fill these jobs. So they need to actually attract people into their country with excellent living standards and low taxes to meet the demand that results from nonsense-free legislation where proposals in favour of pointless red tape and the kind of bureaucratic obstacles that kill small businesses are simply not voted for by their populations. And far from sidling up to big business at the expense of their working class, the country I'm talking about actually has legislation that keeps wealth in country and diverts much of it into the pockets of ordinary people. It enjoys average earnings of £56,000 per year, compared with the £29,000 a year we earn in Britain. This country is Liechtenstein. Its prince, who effectively leads a direct democracy-run monarchy, and his people actually voted to ensure that he would have a veto over any unconstitutional legislation that risked being passed, which is the very same model that we're pressing for as Democrats and veterans, was recently asked how he would recommend going about replacing Britain's present system with direct democracy. And his advice was to begin at local level and to demonstrate to the people how the system works, and to work out how to ensure that reliable information related to the issues being voted on should be disseminated both by local government and campaign groups, and to allow people to learn to use the system in a way that secures outcomes that are good for their communities. And only once direct democracy had caught on at local level would the people in growing numbers really come to understand how direct democracy would best serve Britain at national level. And it was actually with the same vision in mind that we in the Democrats and veterans turned our attention to local elections. And now, having won our first seats in the local elections, for those who don't already know this, our party has already implemented direct democracy at local level in Barnsley. We don't yet have enough seats to control the local council, but actually this doesn't matter. We've created a platform whereby issues that Barnsley Council votes on are communicated to the people, and they're given the opportunity to vote themselves on these issues on our voting website. And for those who don't use the internet, our councillors are presently working on a system that will allow residents to record their votes on paper by visiting the offices and surgery venues of their local councillors. I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen if the council goes against what we will eventually be able to prove is the expressed will of the local people once we get enough of them on board. Yes, as soon as it can be proven to the people that the legacy parties have absolutely no regard for their wishes, you're very soon going to see a direct democracy party-run council, where the people's will alone determines local decisions, and the corruption of favours and backhanders from developers and other big players becomes a thing of the past. The culture of non-accountability will be buried, waste will be cut, and money will only be spent on what the local people agree is important. And if bad decisions are made, lessons will be learned very quickly. There'll be no more pointless vanity projects, no more patronising diversity training. Council taxes will reduce, streets will become safer and cleaner, and people will see their lives improving generally while becoming more engaged with local issues and developing more of a sense of civic duty and more of a sense of responsibility towards their neighbours as they start to see the direct, immediate impact of their involvement in whatever happens around them. Of course, it's a new system and it'll take a little time for everybody to catch on, but excluding local career politicians who want to keep control of the power they have over other people's lives, virtually everyone we've been talking to on the doors from all previous political persuasions wants direct democracy. You know, we've found that the only argument levelled against direct democracy is an argument that denies the value of democracy itself, and is argued by those elitists who want only a feigned semblance of democracy to let people think their voice matters, when actually these elitists believe that they themselves know far better than the rest of us, and that the ordinary people are ignorant and stupid and simply incapable of deciding how best their lives should be run. Well, if these people are right, we shouldn't even be looking at democracy. We should rather return to an aristocracy, or let the rich openly run everything through a plutocracy. Or perhaps let the defunct and constitutionally in breach Church of England run the country through some kind of theocracy. But no, it's simple. You either believe that some elite group of super rich or supposedly better educated people knows better than all the rest of us and can be trusted to make decisions that are good for all of us and not give priority to the interests of that elite little group, or you believe in something called democracy, where it is the will of the people acting within the safeguards of a nation's constitution that is sovereign over the affairs of a state. And if you believe in democracy, I would defy you to prove that what presently passes for democracy in Britain, this sham of people like some of these characters in Westminster telling us that they can do whatever they like on our behalf because we voted them in. So anything they happen to decide must by definition be a decision that we want, that this charade is a better or more efficient, honest or effective system of democracy than the simple process of allowing people to vote directly on the legislation that governs their lives. Since internet banking, since the use of cash machines, the national lottery, the advent of smartphones, smart TVs, there have been more than enough ways to safely record decisions on a daily basis at absolutely no cost to the state, and using so many different forms of technology that everyone can nowadays find something that's acceptable to them and simple to use. There is no longer any justification for perpetuating our grossly outmoded system of fake democracy anymore. A system that was invented when the most effective means of expressing our will was by riding a horse hundreds of miles through the mud and the rain to Westminster. So, it is clear we will have direct democracy soon. But our concern should be whether what we get is genuine or whether we're palmed off with some counterfeit that gives us a sense of involvement, but that actually uses our views as no more than either free market research or worse, something to forewarn the powers that be and to inform their propagandizing ahead of a vote on a national issue. You will have noticed that within the last few weeks, other political parties have now started talking about direct democracy. They're now even claiming in newspapers that they've wanted direct democracy for years. And yet these are the very same people that actively opposed my efforts to convert a prominent national political party into an effective national campaigning vehicle for direct democracy during 2016 and 2017, when it still had national exposure, by even sponsoring opponents to my campaigns. You know, if I sincerely believed that these people actually wanted direct democracy, I would encourage you to support their efforts in the very same way that we stood aside for them in elections and actively supported their campaigns over the issue that I do believe that they're sincere about, securing our national sovereignty. But I have already seen enough at first hand to become convinced that for them, the notion of direct democracy is sadly no more than a gimmick and a slogan to lend them relevance at the next general election, if and when Boris Johnson delivers Brexit on the 31st of October. Now, I fear that these people, while they'd be far better for Britain than our present political class, for a while at least, until they eventually caved into the same pressures and temptations that have corrupted our present parliamentarians, I fear that they're already elitists and in private would admit that they don't actually believe in democracy and that Britain needs a superior class of person like them to decide what's best for all the rest of us. While there are many good people in that camp whose efforts I have strongly supported in the past, direct democracy is nonetheless far too valuable a treasure to waste on an organisation that doesn't really believe in it and only wants to use it as an election stratagem. If it's appropriated as an insincere stunt to feign opposition to the establishment and to use it to replace the establishment with a new establishment that pretty quickly ends up being as deformed as the present establishment, absent the safeguards that would exist against this with a genuine system of direct democracy, then we'll simply end up with more elitists who dictate from top down to Britain all over again. And Britain's last hope, the solution of direct democracy, may very well end up getting trashed in the eyes of the great British public and will be destined to go on repeating the same charade that we've been stuck with for years. So I want to call on you to now do all you can to help me promote genuine direct democracy. And ahead of recruiting other genuine Democrats to our cause, I believe this work starts with getting the words direct democracy into our party name. I've already discussed this proposal with the Executive Board, and they agree unanimously with the proposed addition of the words Direct Democracy Party to our name. And we were informed yesterday that we have approval from the Electoral Commission for this proposed amendment. So for this to happen, all we now need as a genuine direct democracy party that respects the will of the people is your authority to do this. So please follow the link to the voting area and vote straight away. Thank you.